What happens when one of music's most legendary divas squares off with America's most beloved weatherman, Live on Air, and the whole thing goes completely sideways? You're about to see because this morning's Today Show interview spiraled into a confrontation no one expected. The day started like any other at Studio 1A. Al Roker, fresh from the forecast, was ready for what looked like a warm, easy celebrity chat. His guest, Chaka Khan, the 10-time Grammy winner, Queen of Funk, and newly published memoirist. Her team had specifically asked for Al. His reputation for empathy and charm made him seem like the safest pair of hands. At first, everything was smooth. Al welcomed her with his signature smile. "Good morning. I'm Al Roker, here with the incomparable Chaka Khan." Chaka, draped in flowing purple, nodded graciously. "Thank you for having me, Al. Always a pleasure." They talked about her Chicago childhood, her early days with Rufus, the raw stories behind her memoir. She spoke candidly about addiction, resilience, and the weight of being a black woman in a hostile industry. Then Al steered into more difficult territory. "Your book is also very critical of the music industry, especially of how record labels treated artists of color during your peak years." Chaka's eyes sharpened. "Critical? I'm being honest. The exploitation was systemic. Labels made millions while artists, black artists, were left with scraps. Those contracts were modern-day slavery." The energy in the studio shifted. Al shifted too. "Slavery. That's a strong comparison. It's the truth," Chaka snapped, her voice rising. "When you sign away your publishing rights for nothing, when you're forced to record songs you hate, when you're stripped of your artistic control, what else would you call it?" Al tried to soften. "I understand the frustration, but don't you think that word, slavery, might be a bit extreme?" The air dropped 10 degrees. Crew members glanced nervously at each other as Chaka fixed Al with a look that could pierce glass. "Extreme?" she repeated. "Al, with all due respect, you've spent your life on television, for networks that took care of you. You've never had your culture stolen, your royalties manipulated, or your art reduced to a commodity. You don't know what that feels like." Al raised his hands. "I'm not minimizing your experience. I'm only saying there may be other ways to describe business inequities without invoking the horrors of slavery. Other ways." Chaka's voice now carried the same force that made her a legend. "More appropriate for who? For your cozy morning show audience who'd rather sip coffee than face the ugly truths about this industry. Pretending otherwise is willful ignorance." The studio was silent except for the hum of live cameras. Al glanced at the producers searching for an exit ramp. "I think we may be getting off track," he said, trying to steer back. "Let's talk about your new collaborations." "Don't you dare change the subject," Chaka cut in, pointing a finger straight at him. "You opened this door when you questioned my words. If we're talking about what's appropriate is telling the truth. And the truth is, this industry built itself by exploiting black artists. Period." For once, Al's trademark composure cracked. His voice faltered. "Look, I respect your perspective, but this is a morning show. Our viewers tune in for uplifting content." Al insisted, his tone firmer now. "Not lectures about systemic oppression in the entertainment industry." Chaka's voice cut through the studio like a thunderclap. "Lectures? You think me speaking the truth about my lived experience is a lecture? That right there, Al, that's the problem. The moment a black woman raises her voice about injustice, suddenly we're angry. We're too much. We're lecturing!" "That's not what I meant at all," Al protested, but his voice wavered. "Then what did you mean?" Chaka leaned forward, eyes blazing. "Because it sounds like you're more concerned with keeping your audience comfortable than with hearing what I have to say." Al's face flushed. The easygoing persona America adored was slipping. "Chaka, I've been doing this for over 30 years, he said. His words edged with frustration. "I've interviewed thousands of people from every walk of life. I know how to conduct a respectful interview. Do you?" Chaka shot back instantly. "Because right now, it feels like you're policing my language, watering down my truth so it's palatable for your morning show. That's not respect, Al. That's control." Behind the cameras, producers frantically gestured, but the two were locked in. "I'm not trying to control anything," Al snapped, his trademark smile gone. "I'm trying to have a conversation, but when you sit here throwing out inflammatory comparisons and accusations, it makes meaningful dialogue impossible." "Inflammatory?" Chaka's voice cracked like a whip. "The fact that I lost millions because some executive claimed ownership of my music is inflammatory? That I had to pay royalties just to sing the songs I created is inflammatory? No, Al, the truth makes you uncomfortable. That's the difference." "That's not what I said." Al countered, his voice rising tight with strain. "I'm talking about how you present these issues. There's a difference between sharing your story and making sweeping generalizations about an entire industry." Chaka let out a humorless laugh. "Generalizations? Do you know how many of my peers from the 70s and 80s died broke while record labels cashed in on their genius? How many legends are living in poverty right now? This isn't a generalization. It's a pattern." "And I sympathize," Al said, leaning back as if to put space between them. "But coming on national television with sweeping statements, without nuance, without context, it's irresponsible." The word hit the air like a live wire. Crew members froze. Some even stepped back. Chaka's eyes narrowed. "Irresponsible? What's irresponsible is sitting in your comfortable chair with your comfortable salary, telling a woman who lived this exploitation that she's out of line for speaking about it." "That's not fair," Al shot back, his voice cracking under pressure. "You don't know anything about what I've been through in this industry." "You're right, I don't," Chaka said, her voice sharp as glass. "But I do know you've never been told your natural hair wasn't marketable. You've never had someone else get rich off a song you poured your soul into. You've never been told to smile more, be grateful, stop being angry about injustice." Al's jaw clenched. "You think because I'm successful now, I haven't faced discrimination? You think I haven't fought for respect? I've had racist slurs hurled at me, death threats, harassment. Don't lecture me about struggle." "Then you should understand better than anyone," Chaka fired back, her voice echoing through the studio. "Why it's important to speak truth to power, and yet here you are, doing the industry's work for them, trying to silence me." "I am not trying to silence anyone," Al barked, his voice now as loud as hers, his composure fully gone. "But there's a time and a place for everything," Al said, his patience fraying. "And a morning show interview about your memoir might not be the right venue for a political manifesto." "Political manifesto?" Chaka's voice leapt an octave. "So now, talking about my own life is political? This is exactly what I'm talking about, Al. The moment we speak uncomfortable truths, suddenly we're being political. We're being inappropriate. We're being too much." The tension was suffocating. Camera operators glanced toward the producers, hands hovering over the switch to cut to commercial. But no one dared break the moment. Al dragged his hand over his face. "I came into this wanting to celebrate your career, your new book, your incredible contributions to music. Instead, we're arguing about industry politics our viewers didn't sign up for." "Our viewers?" Chaka repeated, her tone dripping with disdain. "You mean your viewers? The ones you're so desperate to shield from hearing about real issues. God forbid they think about something heavier than a weather forecast over their morning coffee." Al's face flushed deep purple. "That's unfair. The Today Show has covered serious issues, social justice, inequality, systemic failures, in depth, many times." "Safe issues," Chaka fired back. Sanitized, neatly packaged issues. Stories you can control, spin, soften for comfort. But when someone like me sits here and speaks the raw, unfiltered truth, suddenly I'm inappropriate. Al's composure shattered. You want raw truth? Fine. The raw truth is you came here to promote a book, and instead you've turned this into a personal attack on me, this show, and my integrity. Chaka's chair screeched backward as she shot to her feet, towering with fury. You're damn right I'm angry, Al. Angry that after 50 years in this business, I still have to justify speaking about my own reality. Angry that even with all my success, I'm told to calm down, to soften my voice, to be reasonable. Al rose too, his height giving him a physical edge. But Chaka's presence overwhelmed him. Nobody's telling you to calm down. But if you can't have a civil conversation without turning everything into confrontation, maybe television interviews aren't the right platform for you. The silence that followed was electric. Every crew member frozen in place. Not the right platform for me? Chaka repeated, her voice dropping into a dangerous hush. Al Roker, I've been sitting in these chairs since before you even knew what a weather map was. I've sat across from Johnny Carson, Oprah Winfrey, giants. Not one of them ever dared tell me where I belonged. Al flinched, realizing too late he'd stepped over a line. But pride held him fast. That's not what I meant. I'm talking about having a productive conversation, not creating controversy just for the sake of it. For the sake of controversy? Chaka erupted, her voice volcanic. You think I came here to start drama for fun? You think I enjoy defending my right to speak? This isn't entertainment for me. This is my life. Decades of exploitation, pain, and silence you just dismissed as inappropriate for your morning show. Producers slashed their hands across their throats, desperate to cut the feed. But the cameras kept rolling. The meltdown was live. I never dismissed your pain, Al insisted, his voice faltering. I just don't understand why everything has to turn into a battle. Why can't we have a normal interview about your book, your music, your achievements? Because my achievements don't exist in a vacuum. Chaka shot back, her voice thrumming with decades of rage and resolve. My music, my career, my story. It's all tied to the struggle. You can't separate the art from the artist, or the artist from the oppression that shaped her. Al threw up his hands, exasperated. Fine, but does every conversation have to become a dissertation on oppression? Can't we talk about the joy, the success, the positive aspects of your incredible career? Al pleaded, his tone shifting toward desperation. The positive aspects. Chaka's laugh cut through the air, bitter and sharp. You want to talk about positive aspects, while ignoring the foundation of pain and struggle that everything was built on. That's not celebration, Al. That's erasure. That's asking me to perform happiness while pretending the suffering never happened. That's not what I am asking for, Al insisted, his voice cracking as the pressure mounted. I'm asking for balance. I'm asking for a conversation that doesn't alienate half our audience before we even get to the good stuff. There it is, Chaka said, stabbing the air with her finger, her eyes blazing. There's your real concern. Not my story, not my truth, not my decades of experience. Your audience, your ratings, your comfort level. Everything has to be filtered through what Al Roker and his morning show viewers can handle. Al's face was now beet red, the mix of anger and humiliation visible in every twitch of his jaw. You know what? Yes, I do care about our audience. I care about the millions of people who trust us to start their day with information and inspiration. Not with angry tirades about how terrible everything is. Angry tirades? Chaka's voice thundered to a crescendo that seemed to rattle the very walls of the studio. 50 years of fighting for respect, for recognition, for basic human dignity. And you call it an angry tirade? You know what, Al? You just proved every single point I was trying to make. Her hands shook with rage as she ripped the microphone from her collar, each movement sharp and deliberate. You want your comfortable morning show? You want your sanitized version of black success that doesn't challenge anybody or make anyone think too hard? Then you can have it. Without me? Chaka, please, Al begged, panic rising in his voice as he realized the interview was crumbling into catastrophe. Let's just take a breath. Let's find some common ground here. Common ground? She stared at him with undisguised disdain, letting the microphone fall onto the chair with a thud. The common ground is gone, Al. It disappeared the moment you decided that my lived experience was too uncomfortable for your audience to hear. It vanished when you chose your morning show's image over respecting the woman sitting across from you. I do respect you, Al said, his voice thin, almost pleading. Your talent, your contributions to music, your strength in overcoming adversity. I respect all of that. Chaka paused at the edge of the interview area, pivoting back to face him. Her expression was a storm of fury laced with bitter disappointment. You respect the version of me that fits into your neat little box. The grateful entertainer who smiles, talks about her hits, maybe shares a sanitized struggle story that makes people feel good about how far we've come. But the moment I show you the real me, the woman who refuses to sugarcoat the truth, suddenly I'm inappropriate. That's not true, Al protested, his voice weak, almost drowned out by the silence in the room. It's completely true, she shot back, her words ringing like a gavel. And what makes it even worse is you probably don't even realize you're doing it. You've been conditioned to expect black women to perform gratitude and softness, so when we show up with fire and truth, you can't handle it. The studio was silent now, the crew frozen, the only sound the low hum of equipment as every eye locked on this collision of giants. I hope your audience enjoys their comfortable morning, Chaka said finally, her voice cold as steel. But don't ever book another black artist on this show and expect them to perform for your comfort. Some of us have too much self-respect for that. With those final words, she turned and strode toward the exit, her bearing regal, unbowed, the queen of funk to the last. Al stood rooted in place, his mouth opening and closing uselessly, like a fish gasping for air. He couldn't summon a word to undo what had just happened. Chaka, wait, he called weakly, desperation cracking his voice. But she didn't even glance back. We'll be right back, he murmured to the cameras, barely audible, a broken attempt at professionalism. But Chaka was already gone, leaving behind a studio full of stunned faces and one very shaken weatherman, who had just learned the hard way that some storms can't be predicted, can't be controlled, and certainly can't be weathered with a smile and a cheerful attitude. The Queen of Funk had spoken her truth, and no amount of morning show politeness was ever going to change that. What do you think really triggered this explosive confrontation? Was it Al's attempt to police her language? Or was there something deeper at play here? Hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think was the real breaking point in this incredible showdown.